So let's talk about Jupiter and Ketu, okay? Jupiter, the first house of Saturn. We'll take it out of the chart. So this is what Jupiter and Ketu conjunction looks like in a birth chart. Without looking at the chart itself, okay? So say someone's got a Jupiter and Ketu conjunction in their birth chart. And say we don't want to consider, without considering what sign it's sitting in, okay? Or say it's sitting in the first sign, like it is right now, first house, first sign. Jupiter is a very big significator of the self. When I say self, it represents the native as in whoever's chart it is. Okay. Say we're going through Monica's birth chart. Okay, and Monica has got Jupiter and Ketu conjunction. And of course, other planets and other aspects are going to play their role, and they're going to modify this conjunction to an extent. But if we just want to talk about Jupiter and Ketu conjunction, first we'll talk about it without taking the sign into account. Jupiter is the self, the person itself. Okay. Jupiter also represents luck and prosperity. Okay, so let's first talk about Jupiter being the self, and then we'll talk about the other things. This person with a Jupiter and Ketu conjunction, you'll see the significations of Ketu being very highly present or strongly present in this person's nature. Now, whether they show it or not will can depend on what house it's sitting in, what other planets are affecting it. But because Ketu represents spirituality, it represents detachment. It can show you a person who's of a detached personality. Okay. Jupiter Ketu people oftentimes, again, unless and otherwise there is an aspect of, say, Sun is there and Mars. Okay, they're very detached people. They're not necessarily show-offs. Okay, can make you a spiritual person because Jupiter represents the personality of the self. Jupiter is the self. Just like Saturn represents your profession, Jupiter will represent the person themselves. So if we're talking about Monica's, or talking about anyone's birth chart where Jupiter and Ketu are sitting together, it will tell you that this person is or could be one of the or they could have one of the characteristics of Ketu in them, very prominent. Okay, it could be spiritual. They could be involved in spiritual activities. Oftentimes you'll find these people wanting to remain in isolation or secluded. Okay. Because Ketu is the opposite of Rahu. And Rahu, which is also the north node of the moon. Rahu is the opposite of Ketu. Okay. Rahu actually likes crowds, fancy things. Ketu on the other side. Just the Jupiter and Ketu conjunction itself represents somebody who's a bit of a. I myself have this. I have this conjunction in my chart. So these people are very detached, very spiritual in nature. There could be a very strong desire of learning the occult. Anything, when I say occult, I don't want it to come across as anything negative, right? I'm not talking about the cult. I'm talking about the occult, right? You'll find these people to be, as I said, a detached kind of a personality because it's sitting with Ketu. Now, because Jupiter represents luck and prosperity, and it's sitting with Ketu, if this person wants to give their luck a push, then they should do activities related to Ketu. Okay? Because the more you activate Ketu, the more you're activating Jupiter, right? If Jupiter represents luck and fortune, the more positive Ketu related activity this person does, the more they're going to activate their fortune and luck in a positive way. So, in other words, the more this person practices Ketu related activities, positive Ketu related activities, what are some of the positive Ketu related activities? Meditation, spirituality. Okay, not taking things to heart too much and letting go of things. Okay, are also things that are related to Ketu. So the more this person practices Ketu related activities like meditation or likes to let go of things, the more they're going to activate their fortune. And the more they do the opposite, okay? Because the opposite of Ketu is Rahu, and Rahu is actually the opposite of letting go of things. The more this person holds on to things, the more they're going to damage their fortune and luck. Okay, Monica, because you have this in your birth chart, it's actually a pretty good points for you to note that the more you meditate or the more you let go of anything that bothers you, the more you just let go. And Ketu also represents nature. Okay, the more you become spiritual, the more you follow nature. Because as I said, Ketu represents anything that is natural, anything that's spiritual, while Rahu on the other side will represent anything that is man-made. Okay, the more you connect yourself with nature, the more you listen to your instinct, your gut feeling. Ketu is your gut feeling, your intuition. Okay, the better it is for you. So, in a nutshell, Jupiter Ketu people are, generally speaking, they have a spiritual side to them, a strong spiritual side to them. Jupiter Rahu people on the other side could also be spiritual, but that's a different type of spiritual. Jupiter Ketu people could be they are most likely going to be very spiritual a bit, but they may not show it. Because Ketu's nature is not to show. That's Rahu's nature. So these people, the more they practice Ketu related activities without caring about showing it, the more they're going to activate their luck and their fortune. Okay. And then, of course, other factors are going to play a role as well. Say if this conjunction is happening in the first sign, which is the sign of Mars. Okay. If any of you remember the sign of Mars, Aries, so the first sign is sign of Aries. This person definitely will have a detached nature to them. They will also have an Aries. You'll also see a prominence of Aries in their nature. Okay, Aries is what is hot-headed. So they would be detached. There will be a sense of spirituality, but they'll also be hot-headed. Okay, but Jupiter Ketu in a nutshell, without the influence of a sign or what house they're sitting in, will give you a very good understanding of the nature of the person.